Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Warframe. Today is going to be my Oberon build. This is my Oberon Prime. I think he looks alright. I kind of want to get a, there's a Tenogen helmet for him that I'm really tempted to buy, but like $8 for a helmet is just, it's hard for me to consider that worth it. But, let's go over the actual build, rather than talking about cosmetics. First things first, as always, we'll go over the abilities. His passive is kind of crap, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it is a good passive, strictly speaking, but I never use it, or I never make use of it. But essentially, allied pets receive 25% health, armor, and shield buff. In addition, your pet receives an instant revive per mission. I always use Helios anyway, just because I like him scanning stuff, mainly for the simulacrum. But yeah, I mean, I guess strictly speaking, it's pretty good if you run with a dog or a cat. Like, it's a pretty good passive, it's just that I never make use of it, so it's kind of irrelevant to me. But his first ability is Smite. So it's essentially just a generic energy ball. Focus deadly energy into a target and then project it outwards, damaging both the target and surrounding enemies. So essentially you attack one target and then like it explodes with like a bunch of smaller projectiles that will hurt other enemies. In this build we have 13 orbs. I don't find myself using Smite all that often, like occasionally on lower level missions just for fun, but for the most part I tend not to do it. As you can see there, it does like a fairly sizable amount of damage. It does 1100 initial damage, radiation damage, and puncture damage, and then each of the little orbs do 300 and change after that. And it has a fairly significant range, so you can nuke people from a fairly far way away. And you just throw it into a group and they all take damage. His next ability, I use this ability quite a bit, is Hallowed Ground. You sanctify the ground, sanctifies the ground before Oberon with Righteous Fire, inflicting damage to an enemy that stands in the flames. What's also worth noting about this is, one, it does radiation damage and will proc radiation on the enemies. But secondly, if you're standing this, or any of your allies are standing in this, you're immune to status procs. So that's something worth noting that isn't really stated here. And is really, really good. Also, there's a unique visual for Oberon Primes, which is quite cool. He gets like flowers and stuff on the ground instead of like flames. We then have Renewal. It's a heal, essentially. Healing waves of energy flow outwards from Oberon to his allies, regenerating health over time. It's a toggleable heal. So you're essentially just a health font whenever you have this active. It's a really good ability, essentially. There's not a huge amount to say about it, other than it's kind of self-explanatory. You become like a healing font, and anyone who comes close to you will heal, including yourself. It also works on yourself, so you will just constantly be healing when this happens. It's pretty good. It has an initial heal on it too. You can see there, about halfway down, initial heal is 286.25, which is a lot of health. And then it gives you nearly 100, it's 91 health per second after that. So it gives you pretty significant healing. It's not like Trinity levels of healing, but honestly, it's enough that... It's enough and it's constant, so it's kind of, it's better in a lot of ways, I find. I think strictly speaking Trinity is the better healer, but I like that Oberon can heal as well. And then we have 4, which is Reckoning. You quickly lift the enemies into the air, then hurl them down with Conviction. Enemies who succumb to this power have a chance to spawn a health orb. So if you kill an enemy with this power, they have a higher chance of dropping a health orb, which is nice, I guess, but honestly, you're not often killing enemies with this ability, unless you're on very low-level missions. It does a fairly sizable amount of damage. It does like 2,800 damage. And the AoE is half that. But what's really good about this ability is, what isn't actually said in the text, but you can see it in the actual stats, is that it has armor reduction at 68%. So if you use this on enemies, it will cut their armor by 68%, which is just... I mean, that's a lot of armor to strip. Like, a lot of armor to strip. Apparently also has a blind radius, but it's not something I really noticed that much, because they kind of stumble when they get up out of it, which I assume is what the blind is, but it's not really relevant. It lasts like 5 seconds, which I guess is useful, but it's kind of like... That's not why you're using it. You're using it to strip the armor, mainly. In any case, let's go over the actual build. This here on Oberon Prime is a 2-former build. To get the same thing on regular Oberon, I believe it's 3-former, not 2-former. But this is my regular build that I have for him. We have Growing Power. It's a rarity for me. You don't often see me have Growing Power. Ordinarily, I would have Corrosive Projection in here. And I've actually thought about potentially doing a Aura Former in here, just so I can get Growing Power or Corrosive Projection, depending on what I want. I can go into why I've got Growing Power in here later, but it's because of my other build, which is a Terrorless build. But applying a status effect with a weapon increases your ability strength by 25% for 6 seconds. It's quite a good augment. It's quite a hard augment to farm. You get it by killing the Garden Spectres on Earth with the Titania quest thing. It's I believe, I could be wrong. No, it totally is. The Guardian Spectres, you've got to kill them, and it's just a pain in the ass to farm, but if you can get it, great. Also, if you want to buy it for Platinum, it's not particularly expensive. Even though it's rare, it's not amazingly expensive, so it's probably quicker to farm the Platinum and then buy it for Platinum, in all honesty. We got Mobilize here, just for some speed. And honestly, the reason this is here over anything else is simply because, like, strictly speaking, I could fit 8. I could put Peculiar Growth in, there we go. Strictly speaking, I could fit 8, so I could do like a lowered power drift or something, but I'm not that worried about it, I just like going fast. We have Prime Continuity for ability duration. Hunter Adrenaline, so that when you take health damage, you gain energy. Prime Flow, so that we have a big energy pool. You can see here we have 650, 656, strictly speaking. Augur Secrets is just ability strength. Transient Fortitude is ability strength at the cost of ability duration. Stretch is ability range. And then we have Umbral Vitality and Umbral Intensify for health and ability strength, respectively. And again, Arcane Nullify, Arcane Aegis, it's what I go for these days. I don't really care much about these unless I'm doing a very specific build. For general builds, this tends to be what I go for. So as you can see here, we have strength at about 230, range at 145, and duration at 123. We have no efficiency, but Hunter Adrenaline makes up for that because we have a lot of health, so we're going to be taking a lot of health damage, which will give us a lot of energy back, which allows our 3 to heal us constantly, and you get that rinse and repeat kind of thing going on. But next up we have the Terrorless Hunt build. This is specifically, well, I say specifically, this is pretty much for doing it solo. I've adapted it a bit because sometimes if I'm going with like one other person who wants to hunt the Terrorlist, I have a couple of friends who occasionally want to do a Terrorlist hunt and we don't want to form a whole group, we just go like 2 of us. But this here is Deadeye for Sniper Rifle, increased damage, always good when you're hunting Terrorlists. Power Drift for ability strength. Here we have 2 Arcane Nullifiers. The reason I have 2 is because they do stack, so that's 20% on this one and we have 60% on this one for a total of 80. Ultimately I want to get to 100. So once we get this one fully maxed out, that'll be 80, plus this one will give you another 20 for 100. But as of now, we're sitting at about 80%. Again, this is kind of less relevant because Oberon can make himself immune to statuses, but again, we'll forget about that for now. We have Transient Fortitude for ability strength, at the cost of duration. Again, Hunter Adrenaline, same. Augur Secrets, same. Prime Flow, same. Prime Continuity, same. But this time we have Streamline for some efficiency. We have Regular Vitality, so we have slightly less health, but we've got more efficiency. And then we have Phoenix Renewal, which is when you take fatal damage while you have your renewal turned on, you'll instead heal you. This works for your allies as well, but you'll just heal up to 50% health, and that will trigger once every minute and a half. So essentially, you just have a no to death once every minute and a half. Which is quite good, because you're pretty much always going to have renewal on for the most part. But what's nice about this, specifically, is that it also works for your allies. So the reason that I have this on here is if you're doing the Terrorlist with like 1 or 2 other people, and they get knocked out and killed in the big wave part of the Terrorlist, they'll instead stay alive, which is nice. It's just good to help people doing this, but the regular build is what we're going to show off today. Thank you. Get some energy, because why not? Level 145, sure. I'll take some damage to start with. That was too much damage, I got knocked over. I was gonna say I'll take some damage so I can show you how renewal works, but the problem is when you get knocked over, you die when you're fighting these kind of levels of enemies. There we go. So you can hit renewal. You can see there I'm healed all the way up. You can go 4 to strip some armor. You do... Whoops. I didn't mean to hit 4 there, but I did. You do want to be careful when you're playing as Oberon, because you can still die fairly simply. All it takes is going all the way down to 0 health, amazingly. Oh shit, I got knocked over again. These guys are all radiation procced because of my 2. Why did that count as me falling out? That was weird. But because they're all radiation proc, they're all going to be attacking each other, which is nice. Because if they're attacking each other, they're not attacking me. That's why that's nice. My 1 can do a bunch of damage, you can see there. But elsewise, we just shoot him in the head. And they're all distracted. We can come in here, use my 4 to strip some armor again. There we go. Now they have no armor. Which makes things significantly easier for killing them. As you can see, Bombard here with no armor. 1 shot, he's dead. Pretty simple. Once again, I probably want to hit my 2 just to get these guys radiation procced. Again, got to be a bit careful that you don't die. Slam these guys down. Do it again. Should strip their armor. Yep. Heavy gunners without armor. Much less of an issue. I think that's everyone. I think that's everyone. Don't make my 3 running anymore. Yeah, so that's pretty much Oberon. Essentially, the basic gameplay loop is to use your 3 at high levels pretty much constantly. You pretty much always want your 3 on, so you're just constantly healing. You want to catch some enemies in your... Beautiful, beautiful 2. Anyone in this area will get radiation procced, and radiation proc will make them attack each other, which is nice. But anyway, that's my Oberon build. So, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye guys.